Right, that old Yorkshire geek here, back again with some more geeky news. Sporting different clothes today, thought I'd wear a cowboy hat. All will become clear later on. And I thought I'd wear a Hawaiian shirt. Nothing to do with Miami Vice or anything like that. I just thought appropriate to the hat, maybe. I did have like a check shirt, but I can't find it, and this were all that was to hand. Anyway, whatever. Now we've a bit to look at tonight, so let's just crack on, eh? So I'll make myself small. In the corner, as usual. And we'll fire up as window. There we go. Right, we're off. Come here. So I've got windows open and I've been sat here for ages, and then all of a sudden stuff went wrong. And so I'll be rushing about at the last minute. Anyway, right, off we go. The Orville's Chad Coleman calls new season jaw-dropping. The Orville Season 3 returns in June. It's been a long road getting from there to here. The opening lines of the theme song from Star Trek Enterprise are appropriate for the third season of The Orville, New Horizons, which has been a long time coming. And we still have a little less than 3 months to go before the series makes its premiere on Hulu on June the 2nd, on Disney Plus in the UK and I suppose other international markets. But according to Chad Coleman, the actor who plays Moclan Clyden, he's a Moclan who is called Clyden, that's not his name, who shared his take on the season with express.co.uk. By the way, this is from Red Shirts Always Die. And all the links are in the description below. And don't forget, there we go, up there, like and subscribe and share and comment and join the live chat if you're watching it live. There's nobody here yet. As usual, I don't know why I bother. I do, because I love doing it. And what else? Notification bell, do that thing. Because apparently it helps. I don't know how, but it does. Anyway, it said on express.co.uk, we can look forward to a jaw-dropping season. I should have just gone to Express, shouldn't have, with the article, but never mind. That didn't pop up in the search on Google. The actor whose character is married to Peter Macken's Bortus on the hit series. The Moclans are an all-male, well, mostly all-male species. So there you go. So they get married to, men get married to men and stuff and all that. And it's just the way they are, but occasionally females are born and they usually go through, gender reassignment. It's just the way they are. It was a good episode of that where they had to deal with that. Anyway, I'll start again. The actor whose character is married to Peter Macken's Bortus on the hit series gave a hint as to what's to come with the Moclan pair as both Clyden and Bortus, in an effort to avoid divorce, as that means one of them would have to die, will be in therapy when the series returns. The relationship is slowly coming along, but Coleman said there's going to be a personal drama for Clyden that's going to shake people. And that drama will affect the Moclan people and the entire crew of the Orville. And there's a video of the sneak peek, which we won't watch, because we watched it a bit ago. Of course, it's to be expected that a cast member would be excited about an upcoming season, but Coleman insisted that he was being honest when he said that everything is going to be bigger and better in this season. We've got Princess. If you can hear any rustling, Princess is giving herself a wash. A wash, not a wesh. I'm from Yorkshire, I say wesh. I'm from West Yorkshire, so always a wesh. Giving herself a wash. A clean. Anyway, Coleman said, "No, honestly, it feels like if we never get the chance to do this again, we better do every damn thing we can, and it's truly jaw-dropping. This season is going to be jaw-dropping for real, incredibly epic. The special effects, everything is bigger and better. If you never see us again, you'll never forget us." Though it has been quite the wait for the return of the Seth MacFarlane-led series, it sounds like we have a lot to look forward to in the upcoming season. And though there are still a few weeks to go, that just gives us plenty of time to rewatch the first 2 seasons, so we're all caught up on June the 2nd, and that's it. There we go. So it's going to be jaw-dropping. I mean, this opening sneak peek were pretty amazing, with the big space battle going on. That looked pretty cool. I can't remember what happened now. It's end of season. Did season 2 end on a cliffhanger with like a time thing? Did the like an alternative history, or did they resolve that? I can't remember. I'll have to watch it again myself, because I've forgotten. Or was that the end of season 1? I can't remember. I'm hopeless. Anyway, so crack on. Right, Star Wars. Rumours and pics. The Praetorian Guards and Mando season 3. This is from Making Star Wars, which is a pretty big site that gets scoops and stuff. There was apparently filming for Mando 3 in Long Beach, California this week. I was told at this location, Din Djarin fights with Red Troopers and Praetorian Guards. I was actually going to hold off on this story, but some photos just hit that skirt around the room. Just hit that skirt around the rumour I heard recently. Who's saying this? Jason Ward. I have a few details to add to this picture that is floating around the internet. The information I had pertained to some filming for the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. A source told me Praetorian Guards are in it with their weapons just like in The Last Jedi. They also mentioned that Red Stormtroopers costumes with Mando-style helmets were with the Praetorian Guards on a ship set. I believe this is related to the clothing story arc and maybe even Snoke himself. This photo is going round the internet and was sent to me today, and there's some red helmets. Like I said, they look a little bit like Mandalorian helmets. They haven't got that cutout there, have they? They have that, like a cutout, don't the Mandalorian helmets there on each cheek, so to speak. There you go. So are some Mandalorians working with Snoke in the First Order or not? Or has he hired some as bodyguards? I don't know. I will have more on this later, but I wanted to hit it before I start the weekend. A big thanks to the person that snapped this photo and shared it. I think it looks rad. It's very exciting stuff. I'm fairly certain it is from this week's reshoots for the 3rd season of the show. Also, make sure to check out my Grogu story from yesterday. That might be from the that's from the yesterday. I did a thing about the Grogu's going to get Iron Man style armor from like they use what's left of IG-11 to give Grogu like a robot suit to control. Anyway, 2 other pictures. Right, what's this? It's like either a spaceship or a base, isn't it? At a Dutch angle, like a Batman villain lair, and some sort of, is that a pod or is it like a set for a cockpit of some sort? I don't know, an escape pod, or is it like a TIE fighter stylish, cockpit? Don't know, because it doesn't say. It doesn't say. So anyway, so there's some pictures from Making Star Wars .net. We'll do a lot of this sort of stuff. Right, but speaking of Praetorian Guards and Snoke and all that, so it obviously means that they're doubling down on the sequel trilogy. It were hoped that the sequel trilogy were going to get shoved to one side and forgotten about, but it don't look like that's going to be the case. Well, not yet anyway. Especially if we're going to be seeing Praetorian Guards just like they are in The Last Jedi, and obviously Snoke was going to be there. Because remember, he's still alive, isn't he? This is set before The Last Jedi and Force Awakens and all that. So quite a few years before. Anyway, let's move on. Now then, beyond this horizon, how Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya's Dune paves the way for great sci-fi adaptations. Now, I had a quick look at this article earlier on. I didn't read it all. I just, as I normally do, I just had a quick scan. And I think there's going to be some things in here I'll disagree with. So anyway, we'll plod on. The 2010s, a great decade for science fiction. If you say so, mate. Might disagree with you. There's a very old and very tired question that nevertheless raises its head among genre fans. What was the golden age of science fiction? It's a loaded question for several reasons, but for a movie-centric audience, it can be best answered with now. 80s probably, to be honest. The 2010s are not exactly now, but they're practically yesterday for most of us, and the 2010s were a very good time for science fiction, whether it be in cinema, TV, literature, or video games. During this period, we saw a major resurgence in both Star Wars and Star Trek, a revival of the Twilight Zone, which I've never seen, but I've heard is not very good. You know, the Jordan Peele redone Twilight Zone. I've never seen it, so I don't know. A decade-defining anthology series with Black Mirror, fair enough, that were good. Original sci-fi epics by Christopher Nolan with Inception, which were good, and Interstellar, which I hated. I hate Interstellar. It is absolute garbage. It's all flash and no substance. That's what it is. And it's just Christopher Nolan saying, "Oh, look how clever I am." When if you just look at the film, it's shit. Sorry, I'm swearing, but I hate that film. And the list just keeps going. We got 2 mega bestsellers with Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, ditto its Spielberg-helmed movie adaptation. You were all right. And The Martian by Andy Weir, with its own high-profile movie adaptation. Again, it were all right. Even the short fiction market, the most niche market in the niche genre, has not been this saturated with talented authors and thriving publications since at least the 1950s. The 2010s, half a page is taken up with this bloody banner, isn't it? The 2010s were great for original science fiction, but this decade might also be the first consistently good one for adaptations. Or as my mate would say, adaptations. Because he's a funny fella. Whereas a good book to film or book to TV adaptation came across almost like a happy accident in previous eras, there seemed to be a more concerted effort in recent years to translate sci-fi literature to the screen. We got The Expanse, a highly regarded TV rendering of the equally acclaimed novel series by James S.A. Corey, actually a pseudonym for Daniel Abraham and Tyler Corey Frank. Yeah, we're good with that. Good, The Expanse. Look forward to more, hopefully. I'm gonna have to have a drink, sorry. Excuse me, talk amongst yourselves, not that there's anybody there. Hey, water today. And it's not bottle, it's tap water put in an empty water bottle because I'm that tight and cheap. There was even a Best Picture nominee with Arrival. Not boring. Adapted from a Ted Chiang novella titled Story of Your Life. But Arrival is a story for a later time. Yeah, it is. I mean, Arrival. If you want to watch a film about an alien object coming down, watch a film from the 90s, a cheapo film. I think it was done by UFO Films, which were a bit like one step above The Asylum in the 90s. They tried the best, but sometimes, the effects were a bit ropey. But there's a film called Epoch, EPOCH. It came out in about 1997, something like that, I think. I might be wrong. But that's a really good film about an alien object. They don't know what it is, it just appears. And they've got to go inside and work out what's going on. And it's a really good film. For a low-budget sci-fi. They do the best, the CG, and it's a bit iffy in places, but they do the best, and it's better than Arrival, not The Arrival. The Arrival is a different film. The Arrival is one with Charlie Sheen, with aliens that the knees bend backwards for some reason. I don't know. That wasn't very good either, in my opinion. Anyway, where were we? Even with all these great movies and TV shows, some of which are adapted from earlier properties, there remained, until recently, a certain novel that refused to be translated successfully to the screen, big or small, for about half a century. Novel untranslatable, the failed adaptations of Dune. Ever since its book publication in 1965, Frank Herbert's Dune has stood as one of the undeniable classics of the genre. Princess is watching me. She's here, look, can you see? Hang on. If I can show you, Princess. Oh, come here, wire. You're stuck on there, we go. Can you see Princess? Is she there? And she's there, look, watching. Yes, it's you watching us. Right, put you back up there. Yeah. Oh, crikey. I'll be there. Oh, can you see me? Right there. Well, they're just a princess making a guest appearance again, aren't you? Yes. Start again. Ever since its book publication in 1965, Frank Herbert's Dune has stood as one of the undeniable classics of the genre. And it was popular enough that the question of whether it would be adapted to film or TV was not if, but when. Perhaps even more importantly, how would Dune be adapted? Forget special effects, forget the budget. Dune is a good 500 pages, which was pretty long in those days, planet-spanning saga that lives and dies on its lore rather than just on its plot. The story of Paul Atreides is steeped in ecology, political intrigue, warring factions, prophecies, conspiracies, and a world far bigger than any individual. Pardon me. Arrakis, otherwise known as Dune. Prior to the first part of Denis Villeneuve's film adaptation in 2021, there were several adaptations of Dune, all of them failures for one reason or another. The first notable attempt at adapting Dune was art house director Alejandro Jodorowsky's aborted film version in the 1970s, which never got past the pre-production stage. A real shame, considering that, had it been produced, it would have been completely bonkers. The making of Jodorowsky's film was so chaotic and well documented that we got a documentary about the film's making in 2013 titled Jodorowsky's Dune. Cut to 1984, and there was another film adaptation of Dune. This time, it actually got released, distributed by Universal and directed by David Lynch. And it's great, but this fella's going to disagree with me. Yes, that David Lynch. David Lynch's Dune is an unfortunate travesty that, due partly to behind-the-scenes drama, hit theatres in a misshapen state, with the plot made nigh incomprehensible, not to me, even for those who had read the novel, and I have, which is saying something, plus some miscalculated creative decisions that threatened to put Lynch's career on ice. Finally, there was there's nothing wrong with David Lynch's Dune. It's a good film. He did the best he could. You know, some people didn't like the inner monologue parts, with people, you're hearing people's thoughts, but it didn't bother me. I think it's a great film. You just watch it. Even there's like an extended version that goes on for about 3 hours or something like that, with a really long intro with, pretty crappy production art and stuff like, weird renderings where they're explaining stuff. But even so, and David Lynch had his name taken off it, so it's directed by Alan Smith is the extended version. But even so, it's still a great film, and I really, 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 really like it. But this fella don't, whoever it is, didn't check. I didn't check who wrote it, and I can't be bothered looking now. Finally, there was a TV adaptation that aired in 2000, officially titled Frank Herbert's Dune. This one was for 2 decades the most well-received adaptation, though it suffered from being too exposition-heavy, not to mention having to work with a TV-appropriate budget. I've never seen the TV version. I know it was on a sci-fi channel, but I've never seen it. Did it have, there were 2, weren't there? There were Dune and were like Children of Dune or something like that. There were 2, and didn't one have what's his name? Scottish actor. Played Charles Xavier. Him. I can't remember his name now. Stupid brain. Even this cowboy act doesn't help. Him. Anyway, I think it had that. I don't know if it was Dune or Children of Dune that had him in it. Oh, his name popped in my head then and just faded away. James McAvoy, that fella. Yes, him. Got there. Right. The science fiction of Denis Villeneuve, Destiny Times 3. This may sound hyperbolic, or is it hyperbolic? I don't know. But I think Denis Villeneuve is the only currently working director who could have brought Dune, roughly the first half of it anyway, to the big screen as gracefully as he did. We already have a tribute piece for Villeneuve on site, but if given the chance, we will probably do it again. We loved this man a great deal. I liked Dune. and I liked Sicario, but I didn't really like Blade Runner 2049. I like Arrival. So it's 50-50 in my book. So there. Villeneuve burst onto the international stage in 2010 with Incendies, a masterful mystery thriller that stands as good as any of its kind made in the past quarter century. Prisoners and Sicario in 2013 and 2015 respectively are equally excellent thrillers that almost overnight, it seems, put Villeneuve on the same level as modern giants like David Fincher and Christopher Nolan. It has been with his three most recent features, however, that Villeneuve has solidified his status as one of the all-time greats, and all three of these movies are, right down to the bone marrow, science fiction. Arrival, on its own merits, is an astounding achievement in filmmaking. It looks nice, but it's boring. Emotional resonance, thought-provoking themes, and as an adaptation of an already great novella, it may very well be Villeneuve's finest hour to date. No, it isn't. With a tightly robust screenplay by Eric Heisserer, I don't know, how do you pronounce that? Adapted pretty faithfully from Ted Chiang's Story of Your Life, Arrival streamlines the technical aspect of the source material without watering them down too much, making the novella's high concept translate well to a visual medium. The emotional core of the novella, through superb performances by Amy Adams and company, along with some intentionally deceptive editing, is only intensified for the movie, resulting in an experience that can bring people to tears. I didn't like it. Watch Epoch instead. Epoch. Anyway, while not an adaptation exactly, but rather a sequel, Blade Runner 2049, released only 1 year after Arrival, is a darker but no less human dive into questions about what it means to be alive, all while working well as a distant follow-up to Blade Runner. It were boring. And Ryan Gosling, it was like he didn't want to be there, but it's like that in a lot of films. It's good in some films, but a lot of time is no charisma. Says me, I've got a cowboy hat on, so there. What makes Dune so different from other sci-fi movies? Of course, we've been building up to discussing Villeneuve's most recent outing, a real make-or-break moment, both for Villeneuve's career and the potential to do Frank Herbert's legendary novel justice. Dune, officially titled Dune Part 1, was set to hit theatres in 2020, but due to certain complications, its release was pushed back a whole year. Thankfully, the wait was worth it. This is not a mini-review of Dune, we already have his review, the review part taken care of, but rather my own experience with it as a card-carrying sci-fi fan and as someone who likes the source material quite a bit. On the one hand, it's easy. On the one hand, it's crying out loud. Come here, just there. On the one hand, it's easy to praise Dune as a milestone in special effects. It's bound to sweep the technical categories at the Oscars. But in the long run, I think it stands tallest as an achievement in world building. At 155 minutes long, this is a slow-paced movie, usually pensive, but basically never boring. No, it's good in Dune. I enjoyed Dune. The plot only advances as quickly as it has to, with a considerable amount of screen time dedicated to purely character and environment-driven moments. Indeed, despite what we are seeing in the film's marketing, it would be a mistake to think of Dune as an action movie. Well, no, it ain't. It's got some good action scenes in it, but it's not an action movie. Arrakis can be... Oh, where are you going? Oh, crying out loud. All this at top, it wouldn't be as bad. Arrakis can be caricatured as a place with sand and more sand, but the mechanics of this world are pretty complex. Paul and the rest of the Atreides settlement are as likely to be halted by the harsh environment as political sabotage. I struggle to think of a movie, sci-fi or otherwise, that is as intrigued by the details of its own world as Dune is, much to its benefit. Even with movies and TV shows that emphasise world building, the lore tends to be tossed at the viewer in thick wads of so-called expositionese, with characters dishing out background information at each other like they're reciting textbook passages. I thought we'd done that. What makes Dune so different from its closest contemporaries is that it is often content to grant the viewer breadcrumbs of exposition, usually passively, sometimes without any dialogue whatsoever. True, Dune waters down the novel's intensely intricate world building, but only to a minor extent. As a movie, and especially as an adaptation, it's a triumph. Dune, Rama, and the future of sci-fi adaptations. Oh, pardon me. I had chicken and rice for me tea, and it's repeating on me. I've always got an excuse, haven't I? Always get an excuse for me burping. But I don't sit burping like all day. It's just when I turn the camera on. It must be nerves. Anyway, Dune proved financially successful enough that Warner Brothers greenlit Dune Part 2 in October 2021, which is great news. Even more exciting news for me, though, came in December 2021. Not me, the author of this article. Came in December 2021 with the announcement that Villeneuve had signed on to helm the long-awaited film adaptation of Arthur C. Clarke's classic novel Rendezvous with Rama. A would-be adaptation of Rendezvous with Rama had been tortured in development hell for 2 decades, with Morgan Freeman as one of the producers looking to bring the novel to the big screen. And now it's finally happening. This does raise a question, though. What are the possibilities now? It used to be that a lot of classic sci-fi novels were too high concept to be translated well into a visual medium. Think of the budget. And besides, there isn't enough of a market demand for good science fiction in cinema, surely. Don't call me Shirley. There's a vast treasure trove of good that's about, shows it level of my cinematic taste, doesn't it? Quoting Airplane. There's a vast treasure trove of good sci-fi literature from the past 70 or 80 years that would work well in film or TV, with a few modernising touches, of course, such as Ursula K. Le Guin's The Left Hand of Darkness, Alfred Bester's The Star's My Destination, Joe Haldeman's The Forever War, and many others. Flagging the success of Dune as having opened the floodgates for new sci-fi adaptations might be a premature move, but I'm willing to stick to my assessment, especially with Villeneuve's Rendezvous with Rama just around the corner. I've not read that. I know it's about an asteroid or something like that that's heading to Earth, and there's some sort of intelligence on it or something. I don't know. I've not read it. I've got the only thing I've read of Arthur C. Clarke's is his short story The Sentinel that 2001 were based on. That's all I've read of his. Call myself a geek. Where were we? Of course, such an incoming golden age requires more than just big studio backing and eye-catching special effects. We need great filmmakers to take on such a task, not just Villeneuve and Nolan, but others in the industry who are willing to fulfil these visions. There is a chance that Dune could be treated as an isolated incident 10 years from now. Who is to say, though? The future is always closer than we think. By Brian Collins. Oh, that's it. Is it? Is that it? Is that just about him? Yeah, it is. Give up, Princess. What are you doing? Stop knocking things over. Behave yourself. Right. What are you doing? You can't come over here. There ain't no room for you, is there? Princess is wanting to come and say hello. I'm talking into the camera, look. She's a cheeky monkey. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know why he went on about the 2010s were the golden age. I don't think there were. I'd say the 1980s were the golden age. We've got lots of Star Trek films, Aliens, stuff like that. Of course, the 70s, we've got Star Wars and Close Encounters and lots of, cool sci-fi films, Silent Running, Andromeda Strain, stuff like that. You're being naughty, you. She's knocking things about on purpose, I think, to get my attention. Aren't you? Cheeky. Anyway, but that's his opinion. That's his opinion. So we'll move on to more important things. Star Trek. Why do all of the alien races look humanoid? And if you're into Star Trek, you already know the answer to this, but I'm going to read it anyway. It turns out there's an in-universe explanation for why Star Trek's alien life looks similar to life on Earth. And there's the Telosians from Star Trek The Cage. And I don't know who these are, I can't remember, but that's she's a famous actress and I've forgotten her name. She was in The Last Starfighter, she played Granny, and she's also been in loads of other stuff as well. But it wasn't her voice, I think they had a different person doing the voices of them. They were played by women, but I think the voices were done by men and adjusted to sound alien-y. Right, in the wonderful and diverse universe present within the Star Trek franchise, there are nearly 300 different alien species, including, they counted them, including the mighty Klingons, terrifying Borg, and the boisterous humans that dominate the Federation. Each of these species is different, but each has a unique culture, history, personality, and arguably, most importantly, design. While the designs of some races are questionable, especially during the original series, they all vary enough to distinguish themselves from the others. They can look fairly similar, such as with the Romulans and the Vulcans, but the most important similarity that connects them is that most of them, especially in the early days, look humanoid in one way or another. The definition of humanoid is to resemble a human or the shape of a human, so the question arises, why in a universe so vast and varied as the one present within the Star Trek franchise do so many of the alien races, including humans, look the same? The answer comes in two parts, one within the universe itself and one outside. The short answer for the non-fictional explanation is that budget CGI and special effects were simply not good enough to create truly alien aliens in the original series. That's CGI. You have CGI in the original series. At the end of the day, adding an extra nose, ridged foreheads and some funky looking eyebrows were a lot simpler and cheaper than fashioning a completely different non-humanoid figure. Don't forget Spock's ears. This is not to say the series never did this, but on the occasions it did, it often fell short or looked ridiculous. Two of the best examples were the Tribble, a vibrating furball, and Alpha 177K9, which was literally a small dog with a horn fastened unceremoniously to its head. In the days before enhanced visual effects, TV producers often relied on prosthetics and animatronics to create variety on screen. Even when it comes to modern portrayals of aliens, it is often simpler to create them as humanoid in some way or another, as it allows for an actual actor to play the part. This is present in Prometheus 2012, as the architects are basically big white bald humans. It also appears within the more modern Star Trek iterations, such as Discovery. And there's Kirk with some tribbles, before they all get beamed onto the Klingon vessel by Scotty. Ignoring budget reasons and feasibility, though, audiences might expect that there would be a little more diversity in the universe. The second, far more interesting explanation for why the majority of races look humanoid in one way or another is explained in two episodes, the original series episode Bread and Circuses, and in the Next Generation episode The Chase. The former introduced the concept of Hodgkin's law of parallel planetary development, which served as a writer's excuse to explain not only the use of humanoid aliens, but recurring props. The theory explains that similar planets, in this case Class M planets, to which Earth belongs, with similar environments and populations, often follow similar biological and cultural developments. Sometimes a bit too similar. This means that after years and years of evolution, the outcome is a result similar to other planets of the same class across the galaxy. It can be likened to carrying out a science experiment with similar conditions. Each experiment will conclude with a similar result, with only slight variations. This was used to explain why the crew of the Enterprise keeps running into cultures resembling societies from their own past, i.e. ancient Greeks, or in the case of this episode, ancient Romans. And there they are in what episode? Bread and Circuses, wasn't it? They had the Sons of the Sun. They said they have sun worshippers in Rome. They said no, the Son of God. Oh, God, here we go. Here we go. Anyway, the Next Generation episode, The Chase, elaborated on this, showing Picard discovering embedded genetic patterns that are present within various different species across the galaxy. It is believed that this genetic material, these blueprints for humanoid evolution, were spread across the universe, the galaxy, by an advanced civilization lost billions of years ago. The episode concludes in a very Assassin's Creed Ancient Civilization kind of way, with the crew reactivating a message hidden within the genetic pattern and translating it into a holographic recording. It shows a humanoid alien figure, who's played by the same actress that plays the lead changeling in Deep Space Nine. I'll tell you a name, but obviously I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's there, I can see it, but it's not coming forward. But anyway, it's I forgot what I want now. It shows a humanoid alien figure who explains they were the first civilization to explore the galaxy billions of years ago. They discovered that there were no other humanoid-based life forms other than themselves, and thus found it hard to create common ground between them and the life that existed that was so unrecognisable and hard to comprehend. Thus they decided to seed various planets with their own DNA in order to leave behind a legacy of life in their image. Yeah, and the Cardassians said that Cardassians would share anything similar, in common with Klingons, makes us sick. And the Klingon said, "If she were not dead already, I would kill her." So there you go. Only the humans and Romulans, appreciated the message. This does not completely contradict Hodgkin's law of parallel planetary development, as it still allowed for the environment to directly influence evolution and keep each race within its specific humanoid blueprint, but it gave much more credibility to the similarities. What was most poignant about the message left by the ancient civilization was a hope that knowing that there was a common ancestry that linked these often warring species would help bring them together, much like the knowledge of other life outside the safe ozone walls of Earth helped unite humankind into one race, human. There we go. There you go. That's why all the, well, not all of them, but most of the aliens look a humanoid in Star Trek, because they were seeded by the race. And also, there was another race, wasn't there, that were mentioned that did planetary seeding. Was it the Preservers or something like that? I can't remember. Salome Jens, or Jens, I don't know how you pronounce it. Jens is the surname. That's who played the humanoid and not her, the humanoid in The Chase and in Deep Space Nine. The lead changeling, Salome Jens. Remembering names tonight. Must be the hat. Yeah, where were we? Yeah, so that's why. So there you go. And also, I've always thought that it's a case of birds of a feather flocking together. Humanoid races that seem to be attracted to other humanoid races. It kind of happened in Babylon 5 as well. And I think in Star Trek more so, that races of similar technological advancement seem to interact more with each other, and races that were more advanced did their own thing, or if they're lesser advanced, either, Federation protected them or ignored, left them alone, or it's like Klingons conquered them, didn't they? But yeah. But anyway, so there we go. I'm waffling. Right, Star Wars again. The Star Wars movie that made the least money in theatres, and I read that and I thought, ooh, would it be Solo? I'm thinking, would it Solo? And it actually wasn't. It's one that I forgot that had actually been in theatres anyway, and it's not Star Wars. A New Hope, even though Obi-Wan's there looking. Is that just before he dies, or is this no, I don't know. Anyway, as the 1970s crawled to an end, an aspiring film director named George Lucas came up with an idea. A combination of the best that Western, yeehaw, samurai, science fiction and fantasy films had to offer. Pardon me, this twinkle in his eye eventually earned the title Star Wars. Oh, crap. I'll read that again. This twinkle in his eye eventually earned the title Star Wars. Those in the entertainment world didn't hide their lack of faith in the project, but Lucas and his team soldiered on anyway. It's a good thing they did too, because when the film hit the big screen in May of 1977, it found success by every metric and launched a franchise that lives on to this day. In only a few short years, the original Star Wars trilogy had completed with the premieres of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi in 80 and 83 respectively. As we know today, however, this was far from the end of Lucas's vision for the saga. 1999 brought Star Wars back to the movies with The Phantom Menace, paving the way for 2002's Attack of the Clones and 2005's Revenge of the Sith, now known as the prequel trilogy. Come 2015, Disney ushered in a new era for the series and began pumping out new films and television shows of its own. At this point, Star Wars is a massive hydra of a property with numerous entries of varying success levels. Hydra as in a creature with lots of heads, not Hydra as in, Hail Hydra, not that. Or is it? Because they own that as well, don't they? Disney. Anyway, property with numerous entries of varying success levels, especially in terms of box office gross. This production currently sits at the bottom of the money-making heap underneath its many contemporaries, but it probably cost a lot less than the others as well. Audiences didn't turn out for the Clone Wars movie. So you remember this were at pictures, and I'd actually forgotten. But I bet it cost a lot less than an equivalent science fiction film. But anyway, between the end of the prequels and the start of the sequels, mainline Star Wars movies disappeared from the cinema. George Lucas's previous 3 films generated plenty of backlash that impacted all involved, so letting the fandom cool down wasn't a bad move, although he wanted to explore the galaxy of his creation in a new way, 3D animation on television. Following up the Genndy Tartakovsky? Is it Genndy or Gendy? Genndy Tartakovsky. I can't say it. Let's try again. Genndy Tartakovsky's 2003 miniseries Star Wars Clone Wars, Lucas adapted the fabled era for a longer procedural series beginning in 2008 on Cartoon Network. Instead of debuting on TV right out of the gate, Star Wars The Clone Wars first arrived on the silver screen. This feature-length prelude included the introduction of now fan favourite Ahsoka Tano by Ashley Eckstein, as well as Anakin Skywalker, Matt Lanter, Obi-Wan Kenobi, James Arnold Taylor and Count Dooku, Sir Christopher Lee, as the titular conflict began to unfold. Despite this stacked roster, a plot revolving around the capture of Jabba the Hutt's Kevin Michael Richardson's infant son Rotter, or Rotor. I think they said Rotor, don't they? But it's 2 T's, so it should be Rotter. Whatever. David Accord and the new visual style, it struggled to generate strong ticket sales. When it was all said and done, the Clone Wars only made just over $68 million on an $8.5 million budget. It actually did quite well, to be honest, making it the weakest earner of all Star Wars theatrical releases. Well, not really. It made a profit, didn't it? Solo, that lost money, didn't it? And that were over $300 million, and it made 300 something million at the box office. And they say it's got to make 3 times its money, don't they, for it to make a profit? Because you've got to take, ticket sales is like you got the cinema's got to take its cut, and then there's the marketing. That's another third in it, So anyway. Making it blah, 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 blah. Miraculously, this failure didn't have wider implications, seen as the Clone Wars programme went on to find resounding success in the years that followed. In fact, it endures as one of the most widely beloved pieces of Star Wars media ever created. Apparently, first impressions aren't necessarily everything. But yeah, I'm disagreeing with you, because you're saying it was a failure. Yes, it didn't make as much as the other Star Wars films, but it still made a profit. Look, it made $68 million on an $8.5 million budget. which means it made a healthy profit, because even call that $9 million, 3 times 9 is 27, and it made 68, so it made some good money for Lucasfilm, and I think it was Warner Brothers, wasn't it, that distributed that, not Fox. So there we go. So I think in terms of profit, I think Solo is the worst. The worst of the bunch, because that actually lost money technically. So there you go. Even though I think it made more than its production cost, it lost money because, of the way movie ticket sales are, divided up. Right, we're getting there. Lost photos of Star Trek's William Shatner opening Alton Towers' monorail while his co-star went AWOL. So what happened to the Starship Enterprise's navigator on his way to the park? Alton Towers, if you're not in the UK, is probably the most famous theme park in the UK. It's like a stately home where they decided to turn it into like a theme park with roller coasters and all that sort of thing. It was the first one in the UK to have like a corkscrew style roller coaster where you went upside down and stuff. I used to go quite regularly when I was younger, in me late teens, early 20s, but I haven't been back since then. But I don't remember him being there, but I do remember the monorail, because we went once and my mate got his head stuck in the door. He started walking in, the door closed on his neck like that. Didn't kill him, he was alright, it opened up again. But we laughed. Anyway, there he is. Hope it's not setting off. William Shatner aboard the Alton Towers monorail in 1987. Right, scores of Star Trek fans from Leicestershire were beamed out of this world when they saw the show's James T. Kirk open the new monorail at Alton Towers back in 1987. Some even donned full costume as they journeyed down the A50, which is a road, to witness none other than William Shatner himself do the honours. It was an unusual entry in the captain's log, and many could scarcely believe the Starship Enterprise, or at least a handful of its crew, was to touch down in Staffordshire. Wearing a distinctly sci-fi flavoured theme park jacket, actor Shatner led an ecstatic crowd to chant 3, 2, 1 before the impressive £5 million train burst through a huge ceremonial wall of paper. But the countdown was missing something. Its other celebrity guest, navigator Hikaru Sulu, played by George Takei, had gone AWOL. He may be adept at steering serenely through space, but Mr. Sulu unfortunately missed the ceremony after getting lost in fog at Heathrow. The Von Roll Mark II monorail was shipped to Staffordshire's Alton Towers following its stint at Expo 86 in Vancouver. It was meticulously reconstructed throughout 1987, ready for its grand re-opening in August. The ride was known as the Silver Ride monorail, and each train was named after a planet. Its opening ceremony was rammed with spectators from all over the country, including Leicestershire, because it's from the Leicestershire Live, that's why they mentioned that, with crowds of Trekkies in full costume, eager to get a glimpse of their sci-fi idol. I think they'd probably wanted to be called Trekkers back then. Back then it was Trekkers. Because Trekkies were seen as a bit of a slight, a bit of a dig, by non-geeks. So we started calling ourselves Trekkers instead. Not that it makes any difference. Boldly going where no man had gone before, Shatner, who was 56 at the time, clearly revelled in piloting the monorail. But how did it compare to controlling the Starship Enterprise? Shatner told media at the time, "This is much more complicated. We're going at warp speed 2.5. I won't do an impression because I can't do an impression of it. When asked if he was a child at heart, Shatner replied, "I am a child in total. I could spend 2 days playing here." Speaking at the time, then park director John Broom said, "The monorail is fantastic. It's the greatest high-tech monorail system in the world, so we're very, very pleased." The absent Mr. Sulu eventually rocked up at Alton Towers shortly after the opening ceremony. When quizzed that it wasn't a good look for a navigator, George replied, "It isn't it? But I was on this trek without my captain." Pardon me. I won't do an impression of him either. Oh my. You go, oh my, it is, isn't it? But I was on this trek without my captain. Oh. That didn't sound anything like George Takei, no. Oh, that's it. So some more pictures. There he is, William Shatner with somebody. Looks a bit like Alton Towers director John Broome and actor William Shatner celebrate the new monorail. And you have to stand so close, mate. The new monorail is opened at Alton Towers theme park in Staffordshire by actor William Shatner. He's like, I declare it is William Shatner, leaning right into the microphone. Don't catch me leaning into my microphone. What's easy looking at that? What's that there? He's got something between his legs. He's looking at it, isn't he? And here it is. To boldly go, William Shatner aboard the monorail. Set course for Rigel 7. That was George. And here it comes, whoosh, out of the thing. Obviously, we didn't have colour pictures in the UK in 1987. Everything was black and white. And here it is again. The new monorail at Alton Towers in 1987. Sponsored by Schweppes and Coca-Cola. Other soft drinks are available. And there, William Shatner clings on to the monorail. Steady there, Captain. Yeah, it's going to fall out. Safety. Bloody hell. If he slips then. Imagine the lawsuits. But it's what 80s, you see. We didn't give a toss. There she blows. The monorail blasts through some ceremonial paper and is showered in confetti. There you go. That one's Mercury. Named after the planet, not the singer. Deo. I love Queen. My favourite band. The new monorail speeds away at the opening. It's got a fan in its cockpit, look, for the driver. And there we go, so that's it. Oh, very interesting. His next story also is about, rare photos. But yes, that's interesting. Good old Bill. Good old Bill. Because, his close friends are allowed to call him Bill, and I've stood next to him and had my photo taken, so, for about, 10 seconds. So I like to think me and Bill are quite close. Right. Oh, there we go. I thought it were going to do all that again when it wasn't showing up. Rare photographs show Doctor Who Yeti roaming Snowdonia, which is in Wales. Because we're on, I don't know where we are. I thought we were on Wales Online, but we're not. The images taken in 1967, so it's 20 years before Alton Towers got its monorail, are from the filming of Doctor Who, from which only one episode survives. And there it is. The photographs are an important record of the Yeti after only one of the 6 episodes in the serial has been found. There it is, look. Scary. Scary. Photographs shot on the day of filming for an episode of Doctor Who are a small surviving part of a series of the TV show that has been missing for years. The photos taken on location at Nant Francon Pass, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, in Snowdonia on September 15th, 1967, are behind-the-scenes stills. I was just a baby then. Are behind-the-scenes stills from the second serial of the 5th series of Doctor Who, where only one episode has survived. The 6-part adventure was titled The Abominable Snowmen and featured actors in padded fur-covered costumes stalking the North Wales National Park, which doubled as Tibet for the filming of the episodes. In this missing serial, the second Doctor, played by Patrick Troughton, and his companions arrive in Tibet in 1935. Ooh, where are you going? The once gentle Yeti have turned savage under the orders of a higher being known as the Great Intelligence. After becoming caught up in its plans, the crew join forces with Professor Edward Travers, played by Jack Watling, to save the planet from conquest. In Doctor Who mythology, Whoniverse, the story is memorable for the introduction of the Yeti and the Great Intelligence. Only one of the 6 episodes is still in the BBC archives. The other 5 remain missing. However, the story is reportedly due to be released in animated form later this year. They've done that with a few of them, haven't they? Where the episodes have been lost. They've remade them in animated form. And I've never actually seen any of them, but I've heard they're quite good. Pardon me. But there's Patrick Troughton, and there's some... They're supposed to be Yetis, or just people, I can't tell. On location, filming Doctor Who, actor Patrick Troughton filming in Snowdonia, with the Yeti Monsters, 15th September 1967. And of course, in the 60s, everything was in black and white as well. 2 short clips, off-screen photos, and a reel-to-reel tape recording of the soundtrack made by a viewer in 1967 are all that survives of the missing episodes. 2 short home movies of the location filming, taken by director Gerald Blake and Fraser Hines, who played the Doctor's assistant Jamie McCrimmon, also exist. And of course, Fraser Hines will go on to play in Emmerdale Farm. It'll come to me. Sugden, Joe Sugden? I think it was Joe Sugden, wasn't it? Was Fraser Hines in Emmerdale Farm. Before it became Emmerdale. Don't that fella there, I wonder if it says his name, but don't he look like Taika Waititi? Him there. And that looks just like Patrick Troughton. Because it is! Doctor Who, played by Patrick Troughton, takes a break on set with actors playing the Yeti, 15th September 1967. Yeah. Taika Waititi is immortal. Before he moved to New Zealand, he worked on Doctor Who. I'm telling you, you heard it here first. Deborah Watling, who played the Doctor's companion, Victoria Waterfield, revealed in the DVD commentary, "The Yeti used to cuddle me to keep me warm. I lost Pat Fraser and father, Jack Watling, Professor Travers in the story. I eventually found them at the back of the caterer's van, sipping nips of whiskey. I said, 'Can I have some?' And they said, 'No, you're too young.'" The North Wales Daily Post... Hang on, we're doing... Oh, that's something else. In a 1999 interview, Jack Watling recalled there was a low-angle shot with us looking up at the Yeti on the horizon. Suddenly, one of these Yetis fell off. He bounced hundreds of feet down. We thought, he's killed himself. We all rushed down. We found this Yeti. When we opened him up, he was absolutely stoned out of his mind. What 60s? It was the 60s. So the moral to that story is, if you want to get drunk and fall off a mountain, wear a Yeti costume because it's all foam rubber. The Yeti actor survived, but sadly most of the episodes didn't. There we go, that's it. Very interested. There we go. Taika Waititi as a Yeti under an umbrella. And Patrick Troughton there. Has he skinned a Yeti then to get this coat? I haven't seen episodes, I don't know. As I said, I was just a baby when it was filmed. And still a baby probably when it aired, whenever it was. Right, last up, a bit of news, science news. We've got a bit more after this because I've done some on this days today. We didn't have any yesterday, but we've got some today. Although I did miss one yesterday. I think on the 12th of March 1971, the Andromeda strain opened. So, there you go. Anyway, new supernova identified in the Weird Cartwheel Galaxy. A star met a gruesome end, resulting in a stunning photo. And here we go, here's the photo. Can you see it? Yeah. Took me a while to read the description to notice it, but actually now you see it, you can't unsee it. It's that dot there. That's the supernova. Before, not there. After, it's there. So there you go. The image on the left was taken... I'll highlight that so you can see it a bit easier. There you go. The image on the left was taken by the multi-unit spectroscopic explorer, MUSE, mounted on ESO's Very Large Telescope VLT in August 2014. Before the supernova occurred, the image on the right was taken in December 2021 with ESO's New Technology Telescope, showing a bright spot in the lower left corner of the image, suggesting a supernova occurred in the time between these two photos were taken. So there you go. A new image from the European Southern Observatory, ESO, captures a stunning view of the Cartwheel Galaxy following a recent stellar explosion. Located roughly 500 million light-years from Earth in the constellation Sculptor, the Cartwheel Galaxy is a spiral galaxy that merged with a smaller neighbouring galaxy several million years ago, resulting in its unusual two-ring shape. There we go. See, it's got the spiral bit sort of like... See the vestiges of it, can't it? The spiral form, and it's always got this bit here. So obviously, you know, the collided and material were flung out to form this ring out here, wasn't it? But I'm sure no stars collided. It all happened over millions of years, wasn't it? So I bet nobody was hurt. No aliens in the Cartwheel Galaxy were hurt in the forming of this galaxy. Using the ESO's New Technology Telescope, NTT, in Chile, astronomers photographed the Cartwheel Galaxy in December 2021, only to realise that tucked away in what appears in the image as the lower left region of the galaxy, a supernova has burst on the scene. Supernovas are the bright stellar explosions that occur when massive stars reach the end of their lives. The explosion can be visible to observers for months or even years. And this particular supernova appears to have occurred fairly recently. Well, 500 million years ago. If it's 500 million light years away, it happened 500 million years ago. Scientists were able to compare the new images with some taken in August 2014 by the Multi-Unit Spectroscopic Explorer MUSE on ESO's Very Large Telescope, VLT. Also in Chile, those observations do not show any trace of a supernova according to a statement from the ESO. This stellar event, dubbed SN 2021 AFDX, is classified as what scientists call a Type 2 supernova, which features hydrogen and is caused by a large star running out of the fuel that is required to keep the object from collapsing under its own gravity. When a supernova occurs, it causes a bright burst that can outshine the entire host galaxy. Along with the light, the explosion also flings material across space. Supernovas are one of the reasons astronomers say we are all made of stardust or star stuff. They sprinkle the surrounding space with heavy elements forged by the progenitor star, which may end up being part of the later generations of stars, the planets around them, and life that may exist in those planets, ESO said in the statement. If you think about it, all the iron that we find on Earth were forged in the heart of a star, because that's where iron is created, in the cores of stars. There you go. Very good, eh? Scientists recruited a few other telescopes to confirm the stellar explosion in Cartwheel. These telescopes including the NASA-funded Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, ATLAS in Hawaii, are specialised to study objects that are only briefly visible in the sky, like supernovas. You'll be looking for asteroids, that's what it's called. When you're busy looking at supernovas, one could slip by an asteroid. Meters. Thumb then. The ESO's Advanced Public ESO Spectroscopic Survey for Transient Objects, EPESTO Plus. How much it costs to subscribe to that? Another project based in Chile also contributed data to the project. In particular, the observations allowed astronomers to measure radiation from the galaxy and confirm that the recent stellar explosion, 500 million years ago, was a Type 2 supernova according to the statement. So there you go. Thank you, Samantha Matthewson. There we go, very interesting. There we go, supernova. I'll have another look. There it is, that bright dot there. That's the supernova happening. It happened 500 million years ago, but we only see it now because it's 500 million light years away, which is a long way away. Right, so that's it for all that stuff. Now we're on to us on this day. Right, let's get this on. Ba-doom. There we go. On this day. I see him. I'm a bit way now. Oh, I see him. Webcam, there we go. Move me over here. Cover up my thing. Yeah. Maybe it's more. There we go. Anyway, first up, Uranus. Ha 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 ha! I said it. Discovered by Sir William Herschel on the 13th of March in 1781. He originally thought he had found a comet. Yeah, when he saw it, he saw this fuzzy blob in his telescope, bluish blob. Was it greenish? I can't remember which is which. Neptune and Uranus. One's blue, one's green. I can't remember. Well, green. Well, it looks blue, doesn't it? I think Uranus is greenish, isn't it? Neptune's blue because it's the sea god, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so this bluish blob, greenish blob, whatever. And he originally thought he'd found a comet, but then after other observations, he realised he'd discovered a new planet in our solar system. The first planet that was discovered, by using a telescope. Although sometimes it is occasionally visible to the naked eye, if you've got really good eyesight, it hadn't been discovered until then. Up to the invention of telescopes, the only, we saw up to Saturn. You could see Saturn with the naked eye, and that were all the planets that they knew about until then, until 1781. There we go. Right. Oh, hang on, where's my thing? Next up, here we go. Another planet. Clyde Tombaugh announces the discovery of Pluto at Lowell Observatory on this date, on the 13th of March 1930. But it was actually discovered on February the 18th, 1930. So there we go. And there's Pluto. There it is. There's Pluto. And also, see, I love that bit. See, hang on, can't see that bit from my fat face. Hang on, let me move myself again. Put myself over here. There we go. This Pluto, this taken by the New Horizons spacecraft, which arrived at Pluto, didn't it? But that looks a lot like Disney's Pluto to me, that shape. Can you see it? I don't know, because you're not on there. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. There we go. Can you see my mouse pointer? Why's my mouse pointer not showing up anymore? I don't know. Anyway, that light area there looks just like Disney's Pluto to me. Put some eyes in and a nose at end. It's kind of spooky. It is to me anyway. Right, next up. Here we go. So I'm wearing my cowboy hat. The Searchers, amazing film. American Western film directed by John Ford, starring John Wayne, Jeffrey Hunter, Star Trek's Jeffrey Hunter, played Captain Pike in The Cage, and Natalie Wood, the late, great Natalie Wood. Well, they're all late, great now, aren't they? Is released on 13th of March 1956. And if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's an amazing film. Even if you don't like Westerns, it's still an amazing film. Really, really good. One of my favourites, got to admit. There you go. Next up. Apollo 9 returns to Earth after testing the viability of the lunar module on the 13th of March 1969. This is an artist's rendition. And they went to Earth orbit, tested the lunar landing module that made sure it operated in space and could disconnect and reconnect. And obviously Apollo 10 went round the moon into Apollo 11, landed on the moon. There we go. All in the space of a few months. If only the space programs were that fast these days. That's why people say they never went. They did. Right, The Howling, another one of my favourite films, premiered in New York City on March the 13th, 1981. I think its actual release date was in April, but it premiered in New York City. I don't know why New York, because it was set in California, wasn't it? I don't know. But yeah, it's a great film, great werewolf film. I like The Howling better. This could be, heresy to a lot of people, but I like The Howling better than American Werewolf in London. Came out around about the same time. American Werewolf in London, I think it won an Oscar for its werewolf, its werewolf effects. It's what do we call it? Special makeup effects. It won an Oscar, didn't it, by Rick Baker, but Rob Bottin did the effects in The Howling, and I think I think the transformation scene in The Howling is miles better than the transformation scene in American Werewolf in London. I do. I think it's great. So there you go. Actually, I think, no, they're all right, yeah. TV crime drama T.J. Hooker premiere starring William Shatner, Star Trek's own William Shatner, on 13th of March 1982. And that's another Star Trek actor, isn't he? He played, I can't remember his name now. I bought his CD. He was in Deep Space Nine, played the holographic singer, the crooner, who ran the holographic bar that they kept running all the time for some reason at Quarks. What are they called? Anyway, it's him, and that's is that Heather Locklear, or is it the other one? I get mixed up, and there's two that I get mixed up with. There she is. And to be honest, I never really watched T.J. Hooker. I saw one episode where she got shot or something, or hurt, and he came out saying he's going to find out who did it, and when he finds him, he's going to not kill him. He didn't say kill him. I'm going to, I don't know, drop him or something. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, man, you can make a hoa. Yeah, hoa. Webcam, there we go. There, move it down there. There we go. I'm always moving myself about, aren't I? Right. Time to read that writing. Vic Fontaine, I think it was. That was his character, wasn't it? But I can't remember the name of the actor. Oh, what was his name? Name of the actor. Top tip of me tongue, as Emily News would say on Question of Sport. Right, Evil Dead 2 opened on March 13th, 1987. So not really a sequel to Evil Dead, it was more of a remake, more of a comedy remake of the original Evil Dead. See, I'm midway again, look. I'm midway again. Whee! I just keep moving myself about. I'm getting dizzy. And you never saw a skull with eyes in the film. It's it's a fun film, and I did enjoy it, and it led on to Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, didn't it? Which actually I'm not a huge fan of, to be honest. It's not really a horror film, is it? It's more of a, it's a love letter to Ray Harryhausen, isn't it? But it's good, But Evil Dead 2, yeah, it's great. But I do like the first one the most. It's a proper horror film. Even though, it's low budget, but it still works. Bob Iger is named CEO of Walt Disney International, succeeding Michael Eisner on 13th of March 2005. Obviously, Bob Iger was the one who, started the ball rolling of Disney buying everything, bought Marvel, bought Lucasfilm. Under him did I think it was Michael Eisner, wasn't it, where they bought Pixar, wasn't it, I think, maybe. Oh, it might have been Bob Iger, I don't know, but yeah, anyway. But he's gone now, and now it's Bob Chapek. Like the Bobs at Disney. Hey, I think this is the last one. Yeah, last one. Captain America, The Winter Soldier, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, starring Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson. Premieres in Los Angeles on 13th of March 2014, and there he is, ready to jump out of that plane without a parachute. Pardon me. Well, there's a helicarrier in the background. Good film. Oh, pardon me. Good film is Winter Soldier. Of course, after doing that, they went on to do Civil War, didn't they? And of course, Avengers Infinity War, which is one of the best films ever made, in my opinion, and Avengers Endgame, which isn't. So there you go. I think that's it. If I press it again, it should take us to the beginning. Yeah, it does. Right, so I'll get rid of that. On this day. There you go. And I'll make me bigger. We've all done now. We've all done now, ma'am. Rounded up the cattle, got them in the corral. It's mighty fine. Right, so I'll leave it there, and until tomorrow, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves, look after each other, and until tomorrow, where there'll be more news, I'll see thee. Good day to y'all.